just begin today's session. And as I explained to you, I'm gonna be sharing the topic of salvation today. Salvation. Okay? We've shared about glory and grace. Today is about salvation. Have you ever heard about this guy named Yomnadewan?
Yes.
Yomnadewan. You don't know him. Do you think you can explain who he is?
He's king of hell.
Huh? You know it exactly. How do you know him?
Because I saw in the cartoon or
Cartoon. Okay.
drama.
Drama. Yeah.
신과 함께.
신과 함께. I haven't watched that one.
Yeah. At that movie, the king of hell is judged for the people.
Okay. How is he like?
He like.
No. 어때? 그 염라대왕은 어떤 존재야?
He judged the people with the goodness and the evil things, and go to hell or 환생시키는 거.
Or reincarnate.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah, this king, he's one of the kings in hell, and he is described as someone very scary, at the same time has no feeling, emotions, but he's
in Hindu religion also.
yeah.
We call Yama.
Yeah.
So he will measure how
Measure.
much good you did, how much bad you did. Based on that, you need to go to hell or you need to go to heaven. Like that, he decide.
Yes, that's exactly what I want to say.
I mean, exactly. He is actually from Hinduism, and it exists in Buddhism and Confucianism as well. And that's why I think that's one of the reasons that he is really famous. Famous means that he is well known among the people in Hinduism and Buddhism and Confucianism. It's notorious, not famous. I mean,
never heard about him.
I mean, yeah. The reason why I brought up this guy is that when we describe someone who has no emotion, but in the position, someone like professors. Professors would be called as someone like Yomnadewan. And he's really cold, poker face, but he's gonna evaluate whether we are A or F. But just like that, Yomnadewan will decide whether we will go to hell or heaven. That is a scary thing, I think. And I believe that this Yomnadewan can explain the concept of divine beings that we have in the world so well, because he is a typical stereotype of judging divine beings. The divine beings, the God will judge us, right? And there are many such divine beings, and these divine beings have some things in common. I'll explain these features, okay? And firstly, when humans live on the earth, this type of divine beings, they do not care that much about our livings. They don't care. It's up to us. We have to do something. We have to figure out the way that we can please them so that we will not be punished. Okay? Or we could be rewarded by them. And second, they do not help us when we humans feel difficulties, nor they don't comfort us when we are in pain. They're just cold, poker face, okay? Emotionless. That is some characteristics they have. And they do not guide us how we should live. You agree, someone? They don't care. I mean, they don't give us the right way. They don't give us the right solution. They don't even give us the standard how to live. But at the same time, they will judge us. That's really like irritating and scary at the same time. I mean, it is pretty similar in Islam as well. I'll explain more. Okay, you can say.
I don't know it.
Okay, you don't know. However, humans must survive on our own, and at the same time should not work against their will. even though we don't know what the wills are. Okay? These divine beings and humans have not had a close relationship, right? But the problem begins when we die. My grandmother just passed away today. My grandma, yeah. We didn't have a very close relationship, but I'm gonna visit her funeral tomorrow with my family. But I mean, I shared this Christian gospel to her many times, but she refused strongly. And
Sad to hear.
huh?
Sad to hear about it.
It's okay. It's she's old enough. It's not a bad news, but at the same time, it's quite sad because she didn't choose to believe what I'm trying to say to her. She insisted on her own will. I'm gonna explain some more. Okay, after we die, we must stand in front of this divine beings, and it's called judgment court. It's normally called like this. There's a court in front of this Yamnadewan, and we are going to be standing in front of him. And
what is the English name of this young
Yamnadewan? The reason why I brought up this guy is, I mean, this is so common amongst all these gods. I mean, I'm trying to explain the concept, not this guy.
Yeah.
But most of the divine, there's no English word. That's what I'm trying to say. You can call him Allah. I'm seriously. Allah is pretty similar. I'm going to explain why. Okay? I mean, he's going to evaluate the people, like you said, based on the endeavor and the behaviors they did. If it's good enough, then they'll have some more chance to go to the heaven or nirvana or reincarnate into a better beings. Maybe dog or I don't know,
Something
cow,
like that.
something like that, right? Not if it's really good, then human. If it's not good, maybe earthworm, whatever. In Allah's case, I'll explain later, okay? Even though we have lived on the earth so hard, nobody can guarantee the promising next step. That's the most frightening part, scary part. We all believe that our next step will be decided depending on how we have lived while we are alive. Okay? The next step, whether it's heaven or hell or nirvana or whatever, reincarnation, whatever, it will heavily, not just heavily, mostly depends on the lives and what that we did when we are alive on the earth. Question? No? Okay. I'll keep going. Some divine beings, however, sometimes make judgment differently, even though the condition is the same, maybe same person, same life, identical, but he can give the judgment differently. Depends on his own mood or condition. That's Allah. If he feels good, then you'll have more chance to go to the heaven. If he feels bad, even though you did even you lived such a wonderful life, then you will have no chance to go to the heaven. There's the only way you can go to the heaven, just right away, no matter what. And what's it called? Jihad. In Islam, holy war. If you died during the holy war, no matter what, you will just go to the heaven.
It's like in Scandinavian, Valhalla.
Huh?
Valhalla. If you die during combat,
Yes.
you go to the heaven, to Valhalla.
Okay, yeah. That's the Islam's doctrine. There's one way that you can just make sure, guarantee the way. I mean, that's why there are many suicide bombers in Islam. They believe that through that way, they can just go to the heaven. Surprising. But in some cases, many people cannot be judged fairly just because of the fact that they are women or disabled. There's no way that you can just go to the heaven if you're a woman or disabled. In not just Islam, but in many other religions, if you're disabled, there's no way that you can do, the best. Since you're not capable of moving stuff, or if you're mentally ill, physically ill, disabled, there's no way you can guarantee that you can go to the heaven. How about children?
Children always go to heaven, no?
In Islam, no. How about Hinduism? It differs based on their belief system, but most of the cases, children, disabled, women have no chance to go to the heaven. I can't say no, but lesser chance, much lesser than the average person.
Why women?
Huh?
Why women?
Why women? You should ask Islam.
I'm not
Islam believes that women is inferior to a male person, so they don't have the same privilege. And in most of the cases, women are inferior than male person. It is not Hinduism. In Hinduism, women is quite strong, but in most of the other religions, women is pretty weaker, and they have no rights to say things right and do certain things. In Afghanistan, for example, where the Islam is really strong, the average life expectancy for women is about 45. Yeah, it is. Some part it is because of the war, but at the same time, the women's right is like a nothing in that country. If Islam goes up, the women's right will go down. It is pretty obvious. Sorry, it's not. I don't want to offend you. I just want to explain the religions in general. Okay?
You don't offend me.
Huh?
Because I know, maybe I know as much as
You guys, we are,
and I really was not interested in Islam. I already know. So I know only very basic stuff.
Good. That is why that we all are afraid of the judgment all the time, because we are not sure. Almost all religions, ideas, and teachings in the world work this way. After death, two worlds are presented to us. One is called heaven, the other is called hell. There are some atheists who don't believe God, who don't believe spiritual things. No afterlife. That's it. Our life, our physical body, is just will end right here, and we will become some dust in the universe. That's what they believe. So that's why the author in Russia, Dostoevsky, he said that without God, all things are permitted. They don't believe afterlife, but most of the religious and spiritual people believes that there is some certain things called next step, next life. So we want to behave, even though we are not sure where we're going to go, but at the same time we have this fear and anxiety or wonder what's going to be happening. So we want to behave. We want to live a better life. At least we try. But if you don't believe in any religious thing, if you're an atheist, I think the food came. Please stay there. I'll bring the food. I'll just close up the atheist part. Even though they don't believe in any divine beings or God or afterlife, I can say that every person has some fear about their own death, right? So they can fall into either nihilism. You know what nihilism is? There's no meaning, there's no values. I can just do whatever I want to do, right? Nihilism. 허무주의. Or Epicureanism, which is seeking for pleasure all the time. Sex, drug, alcohol. Anything. Okay? if you don't believe in afterlife, you can either live as a nihilism category or Epicureanism.
What is it?
Huh?
Nihilism.
Nihilism is so they believe that there's no meaning, no values, no like nothing we can achieve in this world because we are just a simple life on the earth.
So, like, what they do?
Most of the cases, suicide is the best solution, right? I mean, you will give no harm and no good to others, so committing suicide is really good option for them. And I mean, just or I don't know, or just you can just live your life struggling, managing, right? But there's no meaning. So you can do whatever you want to do. No discipline, no rules, no standards. There's nothing, but just hanging in there
Okay.
until you die. I mean, I presented you a very extreme cases, but I believe that these cases explain so much about the atheism. I mean, they can do some good works to the world, but at the same time, it means nothing. Right? Okay, so that's why I want to explain to you about the salvation, because it's all related with this concept. The one who is saved can enter into the heaven or nirvana, whatever. This is one of the main ideas that a religion has, but the meaning of salvation is really different, and the way to get there is totally different. When we try to explain heaven, salvation, or nirvana, we said something better. Heaven should be something great, not just good. One of the greatest thing that we could ever imagine. The religion always said things better for heaven. And what about hell?
The worst.
The worst. Agony, pain, and desperation. Everything that you can imagine about the bad things, that they are there. That is called hell. Okay? And here, there are some big differences among religions. First of all, I'll talk about the religions and divine beings in the world, except Christianity. They make the way of salvation in the most difficult way. They always do. They make the salvation, nirvana, way to the heaven, the most difficult way. Therefore, while we are living, they make us do something very hard for the divine beings to impress them. Pray 5 times a day. I mean, I'm so sorry, because Islam is a really good example of these. And also, Hinduism is pretty much the same, I think. And most of the other religions, for example, Buddhism, we have many monks who did extremely difficult things. For example, one monk, he did not lie down on the ground for 10 years. He didn't put his back on the ground for 10 years. He just slept like a sitting, and he didn't lie down on the ground for more than 10 years. And he believed that way he could impress the divine beings, or he could realize the truth about life. And I mean, there are so many other ways that many people are doing. In Hinduism, they are experts on this. They make
showing you.
Yeah, they make a most radical and extreme ways to get to the nirvana, get to the salvation.
For example.
For example, he's going to show us.
Because I always heard about Buddhism, that they how much they do about Islam people, but
Islam, I mean, yeah, the more you do, like the more seriously and harder and dedicated you are, the more chance you will have to go to the heaven. That's even though the things they're doing is pretty much similar, the way and the seriousness of the behavior is different. You know, That's why I told you that there's a darkened forehead amongst the hardcore Islam countries.
Mhm.
But not in Kazakhstan. They just put their head like a very softly. But in the Muslim Middle East countries, they do it just dead seriously, right? And they believe that the darker your forehead, the more chances they will have to go to heaven. And they're so proud of if they have this big dot on their forehead.
Mm.
Like this. They will pray for years and years.
Years, yeah.
They don't-
Mm. I cannot see the picture. Oh.
Right? So these type of prayers and disciplines and I mean anything, it should be it is necessary and mandatory to get a visa or a ticket to go to the heaven.
To impress that guy.
Yes, to impress God or to be proved by God. Wow, you did a great job. You are radical. Wow, you did such a great job. Okay. Good point. I mean, I'm not joking. This is seriously done by most of the religions. I mean, Islam, 1.7 billion. Hinduism, I don't know how many. In India, so many. Buddhism, what else? Even Catholic churches, they do the similar things.
Confucianism.
Huh?
Confucianism.
Confucianism, pretty much similar. Yes, Confucianism. And Judaism, it's all depends on their own behaviors, right? I mean, most of the religions is same. Okay? Even so, the boundary or the standard of what to do for the salvation are not clear at all. That's why there are so many diversities. Somebody is like doing this or doing that, or I mean, so many diversities, and because the standards are not clear, okay? And there's nothing that can make people nervous about their own death. They work hard, but they cannot predict any good result of it. And this is, I think, most insecure and irritating thing to experience while we are living on the earth. Interestingly, however, this is, like I told you last week, this is really good strategy.
For who?
I'll explain. The secret of this strategy is to make the door of the salvation and nirvana very narrow and difficult. So, in the end, many people are not allowed to go to the heaven or salvation or heaven, okay? And that is one of the reasons, I think you remember this. In Hinduism, people admire Jesus a lot because he just died once and he went to the heaven. Just once. But most of the people in Hinduism, they believe that they need to serve,
7 lives. Really.
I mean, at least, maybe 1,000 lives. Nobody can sure about that. But Jesus just died once and he went to the heaven. Wow. Wow. Such a perfect life. I mean, yeah? This is true irony. This is because they believe that they can enter into the heaven stage or nirvana stage after spending much more time and effort. And most of the other religions are the same. The road to salvation is very difficult and the gate of salvation is extremely narrow. Again, I should say that this is a good strategy to make people nervous. Through this, religious leaders and religions themselves can manipulate people so easily. Imam, they have so much power. It's the Muslims have to heavily depend on the teachings of Imam. Right? In Hinduism, there are gurus, right? I mean, in most of the religions, there are high positioned priests they know everything. They already had some realization about life and death and afterlife. So we are heavily depends on them. If they say things, oh, you should not do this, or you should put things in that direction. For example, like I shared last week on Sunday, Confucianism, when they offer a ritual to the forefathers, it is really important to put the fish's head on the west. If you put the fish's head on the east, then they will not accept that rituals. It is, I think, ridiculous. At the same time, it is that serious for them. The religious leaders can manipulate in the way that they want to do. Okay? That's why I want to call it is really good strategy to make salvation difficult, to make the door of the heaven narrow as possible. Now, I will talk about the God of the Bible. The basic presupposition that God of the Bible has for us is love. Love. He created us because He loved us. Okay? That is why life with God is full of love. Let's get some message. I'll just mute it. Okay. The more we know the will of God, the more we realize how much He loves us. And it is so easy for us to find out and learn more about God's will, plan, and His feelings because we have this book called the Bible. And this gives us great confidence and joy that we are loved by our Creator. We are loved. And this is the Bible verses that I want to introduce to you. This is 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. Let's read it all together, okay? Ready? Go. This is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. That's what the God of the Bible desires for us. He wants all men to be saved. That is God's heart, will, and plan. The door to salvation in the Bible is very wide. It is wide open to everyone. I mean, we can say that God made the door of salvation very wide, at least on His side. He opened it very wide. Okay? If salvation or nirvana or heaven is so precious, if it's so important, then it should be given to everyone, including you and me. Right? It is important and the most precious thing. So God wants everyone to have it. Because God loves us so much. So salvation in Christianity is very easy. But the point on the human side is that whether we can enjoy it or we can join the salvation or live the opposite life, which is gearing towards to the heaven. To hell. Sorry. Bible teaches us that this salvation is not something we can attain by our hard works. There are too many people who cannot get it if they can get it only through their hard works. Like I told you, there are so many poor people. They have no time to do some rituals. There are disabled people, children, women who are persecuted by their own surrounding people only because of their females. I mean, in Africa, in many rural villages, they are just persecuted people only because they are females. I mean, there are so many things like that. But God of the Bible, He wants to save them all. That's the differences. So the way of salvation in Christianity is so easy. Last week, previous time, I explained about the grace. Grace, the meaning definition of the grace is God's gift to those who don't deserve it. Even though we are not, we don't deserve that the greatest gift, which is salvation by ourselves. Jesus died for us to give us the salvation. It's not by our work. It's not by our hard training or prayer, but it's all by grace of God. And through the blood of Jesus Christ, we can be saved.
Free gift.
Huh?
Free gift.
Free gift. Yes. And the point is that whether we will get it or we will refuse it. I mean, it's for everyone. You can just start to build up the relationship with the Creator, God. He presented us the easiest way to have a union with Him. There's no other way. I mean, if the salvation is only for the people who are doing the radical things, I mean, I can get there. You can't get there. You're just studying, wasting of your time. No. But God of the Bible presented us the easiest and simplest way for salvation. And like I told you, people tend to believe that if it's too easy, then they don't want to get it. I mean, it's for everyone. I mean, yeah. I want some more, like a more precious thing, like a gold or diamonds. But if there's no air, we can't breathe. We can live no more than 3 minutes. Salvation is just like this, right? We are all going towards the hell since we died spiritually. But God gave us a lifeboat that we can transfer to it, which is going to the heaven. So in Christianity, heaven means life with God. Hell means life without God. It's that simple. If you're with God, then it is heaven, even though you're in a miserable country, situation, time, whatever. Since I'm with God, I'm confident that I'm loved by God. And I'm confident that even though I die tonight, tomorrow, I'm confident that I'll be with God forever. Hey, Michael, come in.
I'll come back.
You'll come back?
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
No, I'll come back.
Okay.
I'm gonna get to NC and
Okay, good. No. He's not Basi. Michael, another guy from Africa. He's also mechanical engineering department, PhD. Anyways, the point is that whether we are going to enjoy that heavenly life or not. That's what the Bible is trying to teach us. And that's the teachings of the Bible about salvation. It's easy. It's done by Jesus. It's done by grace of God through the blood of Jesus Christ, who died for us and who wants to forgive us. And at the same time, if we admit that we were the sinners, we can't save ourselves. And we want to believe in Him, that He's the only God who can save us. Then you can start to have a unity with God, which means heaven. Yeah. That's really basic teaching about the salvation in the Bible and Christianity. And I hope it will be helpful for you to think about the whole religious concept, because it is the goal. It's like ultimate goal of the most of the religions. I mean, living a good life is important, yes, but what about it if there's no afterlife, if there's no like a reunion with God?
Can I?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So we will explain later, or I don't know, about those people who are not capable of following God. Okay, we understand with women maybe and people with disabilities, they can follow God, and by this get a ticket to heaven, like this, yes?
Okay. You mean you want to ask about this disabled one and children? No?
First, children,
Children, okay.
very little children,
Yeah.
those who cannot even think.
Think, read, I mean,
Yes.
decide, yeah. Sure.
About people with mental
illness,
disabilities
yes.
who also cannot
Sure.
make their own decisions. And I think the most interesting question for me is people of other religions.
Other religions, yes.
And because, for example, the same atheists or people who don't even know about Christianity.
Sure.
So if they deserve it, for example,
Uh-huh.
if they do right things, even though they don't know about it or they don't believe,
I mean, to explain
how
that,
it works.
to answer those questions, I need more time, but I'll make it very simple. First one, children and disabled one. I strongly believe that they're gonna go to the heaven, no matter what, because they have no willpower to decide whether it's good or bad. Okay, I mean, I truly believe that. But there are some other sectors, even in Christianity, they're not gonna go to the heaven if they have like a Christian family or Christian like a background. I mean, there are some sector or doctrine, belief system, even in the Christianity, they're doomed to go to that hell. But I don't believe so. I truly, strongly believe that they all are going to go to the heaven, because of the doctrine that they didn't have any will to choose anything, right? That is the point. And there are some evidence in the Bible that I can show you later.
No. Okay.
I mean, God wants to save everyone, and if they didn't choose it by their own will, then they ought to go to the heaven. But what about the other religions, atheists, I mean, Hinduism,
And just people who don't
who don't believe the Christianity? There are some verses explaining about that situation. God put hints and clues in the nature that they all can admit God, the Almighty, in the universe, in the nature. So they can find out that there's something beyond our imagination, beyond our ability, which is called God. But they might not say that it is God, or maybe supreme beings or supernatural power, whatever. Okay? So at that point, we don't know how they're gonna end up in the judgment court. That is why, as a Christian, we are trying to send more missionaries to the other countries. For example, I don't know how many friends. I have many friends who are working in other countries. India, absolutely. Kazakhstan, yes. In Jordan, so many. In Egypt, Africa. I mean, I also was going to go to the Afghanistan. That was my plan right after my graduation. But God somehow turned my journey to stay here in Korea. But my heart is always on the other countries. We want to share this good news that salvation is for everyone. That's why they kind of give up their lives in Korea, but they want to spend their life in the other countries. But we can't say 100% correctly whether the people in the other religions go to the hell or heaven. We can't say that because it's on God's hand. And even in Islam countries, there are many people who dream the dreams of a guy who wears a white robes, and it appears that it was Jesus. Many people are dreaming that dream. And with the help of the missionaries, they found out that it was Jesus. I mean, there are so many miraculous stories like that. So we don't know how they're going to end up after they die. But what we can do at the moment is to share this story more and again to the people who don't know this yet. But like I told you, for my grandma's case, I try to share the story of this teachings of the Bible, but she refused it. I can't do anything about it. So I mean, there are some other cases as well, but what was the last question? Children and disabled in other religions. In
other religions, atheists, and
atheists.
I mean atheists who are good,
Good life.
but they just don't believe,
Yeah,
and
they
people
don't believe it.
who just don't know anything
Sure.
about
Sure.
religions. For example,
Yeah.
a person who lives in the forest,
Yeah.
hunting.
Yeah.
For example,
Sure. In Christianity, I mean, there are so many good people who are just sacrificing themselves to serve the others, right? Why do they do that? It's for the other's sake, or it's for their own sake? To have more satisfaction? I mean, they could be satisfied by doing a good work. They could be feeling happy when they help the others, right? So the motivation is quite different. In India, I mean, there are numerous people who are doing a good deed. Why are they doing it? To be saved. It's for their own sake, own benefit. And why my friends are living in the foreign countries as a missionary? For the other's sake. I think it's really different. Why Muslims are helping others? It is one of the pillars that they can be saved. You need to help the others to get saved. It's not for their sake, it's for their own sake, own benefit. So the good deeds could be defined differently in the Christian belief system. So even though they are doing a wonderful things to the others, but is it really like a selfless and pure a good motivation thing?
Yeah,
Really,
that's why I'm asking, because as we talked before about nihilism,
Nihilism, yeah.
nihilism, that you think that life is, let's say, meaningless,
Meaningless, yeah.
and there are such a group of people who believe this, and they think like there's no meaning for myself, for example, so
Sure.
I will do it for others' sake.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not for their own safety.
Mm-hmm.
They do it just because.
Nihilism is one of the extreme cases. They don't help others.
Yeah, I mean,
not at all. Yeah.
The base is nihilism, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that. I can't read everyone's mind. I can't say I know everything, but I'm trying to explain the basic principle, basic mindset, the attitude of human lives. That's why I'm giving you the examples that even though they're doing and serving the others, the motivation and the attitude will not be the same. And that's the Bible is trying to teach us. Without God, there's no good. By the definition. Because God is ultimate good. God is ultimate value.
I just remembered one fairy tale.
Yeah.
From a Russian fairy tale. There was a boy who was very beautiful, and he believed that everything was for him. And then one wizard cursed him like, you will be with a bare face, something like this.
Bear what?
Bare face.
Bear. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And they'll be very ugly, and every person will be scared of you.
Okay.
And you need to make good things to get rid of this face.
Okay.
And he did many things like, oh, I will help this grandmother, or I will help this little kid to become normal.
Okay.
But it didn't help him. Then he lost his hope, and saw a grandmother who couldn't manage with her things, like, and he helped her because like she feels bad. And and after this action, he returns his face like this. So before he did only for himself, but after he realized it was not for himself but for others, he got salvation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a really good example that human is not like a. It's not easy for human to do certain things only for the others. There's always some motivation for themselves. But I mean, I can't, like I told you, I can't say that every good behavior and serving is selfish thing. No. I'm just saying that the Bible is trying to teach us the standard and the standard is clear as possible. It's all God, right? With God, it is heaven. Without God, it is hell. That is so clear. I mean, yeah, I think I've shared many times the reason I chose Christianity over the other religions is that it makes more sense. If we have to do certain things to achieve that salvation, there's no way I can do it. There's no way the other people can do it. Right? But since it is so precious and important, it should be given to everyone. And Jesus did that for us. As a human being, as a divine being at the same time, as a son of God, and incarnated in a human flesh, he did it for us. And by believing that fact, that truth, that we could be saved. How easy it could get. Right? I'm not just saying that the salvation in Christianity is easy so you can just choose easily. No. There's a life-turning decision. Whether you're going to follow God or the Bible or something else. I mean, I try to explain the salvation, the concept of salvation, as easy as possible. I'm not sure how you will accept and think about it later on, but please, like I always say, please take your time and make your own decisions. How you're going to respond to this. Okay? It's not an easy thing to understand and live accordingly. Right? Since you guys have been lived your own style, your own culture and history, right? Religion for a long time. It's not an easy decision. How about you, Kiwan? What do you think about this concept of salvation in Christianity?
I am very grateful.
You're what? Grateful?
Because I could get happiness from this Christianity without no doubt. So I'm very free, and I have no reinforcement. I couldn't feel the pressure by this religion because they don't reinforce me. So it's my happiness.
Freedom is a really important word. Freedom, yes. What do you think, Naresh?
I need to read more.
Yeah, please.
Yes. It's probably one of the main questions in all religions.
Yeah.
Because what makes them all together, I think almost every religion is because people scared that their life can end on that one point, and all of them want to be endless in any form of life. In Christianity, it's heaven or hell, which is endless. In Hinduism, it's reincarnations. It's your soul moves to another body, right? In Islam, it's too also heaven and hell, because people are scared of
afterlife.
Not scared of afterlife. They want to be infinite.
Sure.
To be
Yeah,
infinite.
It's all related.
So the only ones who do not believe it, it's nihilism.
Nihilism, atheists.
atheism.
Because they believe that they are same with the animals. Animals do not have any fear about afterlife. They believe so. Biologically, they're the same.
Although I don't know about other religion because I didn't study about that, but the certain thing I could say is when after I lived this Christianity and the God of grace and feel grace, then I could act like a good person because not for the refunds or not for the payback,
Rewards.
not for the rewards or other people's 보는 거 reputation, my reputation, just because I feel graceful, I feel 감사,
Gratitude.
so it changes my mind and my action,
Yeah,
and
lifestyle.
I'm very free, and this is because of my 자발적인
Voluntary.
volunteer. Yes.
Yeah, I think that is really good point. I think it got related with the teachings that I gave. Yeah.
Now I realize my position.
Mm-hmm.
I realized it just now that I'm not scared of if there is nothing after our death, but I'm scared that I don't know if there is afterlife or not. I'm more scared of afterlife than non-existent way.
Yeah, exactly. That is why.
Like I would better choose the atheist position. Yeah, if I knew that there is afterlife or not, if not, I would choose atheist.
Sure, atheist. So
Nobody knows.
you know the mathematician Pascal.
Yes.
Pascal. He said this. We need to bet on our afterlives. Okay, there's a chances. If there's afterlife, if there's no afterlife, we can choose both ways, right? During we live here. If we choose afterlife, then we will follow certain guidelines from Christianity, whatever. Okay. If there's no afterlife, you can just live accordingly. Not just nihilism or
Yes.
pleasure thing, but you can do it. If this one is true, and if you chose this way, then you'll be okay. Wow, you're relieved. But if this one's true and you live this way, there's no differences, right? But if this one is true, if you live this way, it's okay. You lived a good life. But if this one is true, yeah, it makes sense. But what if this one is true, and you chose this way? That's why Pascal chose this way. Mathematically, it is so much better bet. Seriously. Because no one can prove scientifically, but there's chances that we can predict. It will change your lifestyle. Like him. It will change the decisions you will be making in the future. It will give you a different values in your lives, right? You need to choose between two: atheism, there's no afterlife, or some afterlife. He doesn't mention about Christianity. He doesn't mention about these religions. But how about afterlife that we all desire to know? Okay, this bet is so much better and safer. Please choose this one. Okay. I'm not a mathematician, but the genius mathematician says so. So please take note from him.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, I think. And on this point of view, I am trying to explain the differences among the religions, right? And if you are wanting to learn more about this atheism, I can talk about and teach more on these two differences, atheism and religious belief. There are so many things that I can also say about it. I mean, I think that's it for today about the topic of salvation. Please take your time and let's meet next week again with another subject. Okay? Yeah.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for listening. It was really good.
Great.